Bless her
Wow.
heart.
Yeah, bless her heart is really, I mean, it's not a fate or a status that we would wish on our worst enemy, let alone the daughter of your heart and the little girl that you had. And
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And, that's, I can say this in like a lot of matter of fact, because when you work with someone in this type of way, you have to just approach it. This is what we do. You
can't be grieving. I mean, you have found the value in not grieving her loss, but being present with her as she is. I mean, you don't have that anymore. You will grieve. You grieve every now and then, but you can't do it in front of her. That's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to her. And that was a huge, did you have to learn it or you just knew it? You're really wise. So I'm really curious.
Well, early on, I will step back. She was diagnosed in February of 2019. Yeah. And who I've already lost? My sister, my niece, my dad. Yeah. Stepdad, but he was a dad to me. February 2019, we're just trying to wrap our heads around this, grieving, trying to figure it out. Of course, not in front of her, but in private, because other than she doesn't show emotions, but we don't know what she feels inside.
Exactly. And it's not helpful to her to point out things that she can't do anything about. You get it.
Exactly. Well, then in July, my mom unexpectedly died. 5 months after I find out my baby daughter has an incurable disease. And I think at that point, I was like, this is, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going through the motions, so to speak. Yeah. And I'm a strong Christian, and I believe that there's a plan, and what am I going to do? I have a choice, and I love my daughter, and we've learned the hard way. The small blessings are really the biggest blessings. If we choose to overlook the little things, we miss out. Yeah. And we've had to hold on to our family. This has been financially very difficult for us.
I cannot imagine, because you went from 2 incomes to someone who had to do early retirement, because you're talking about, if your daughter's like late 20s, we are not talking about you guys being at my age. You are not here yet.
No, we're not. I'm only 50, going to be 57. And so this is, a couple of years ago, and we weren't planning. Yeah. This was not the way we saw retirement, obviously. No. And so with Kara, she's a lot like a toddler now in many ways, and she's very loving. She's very loving, and we just embrace that. We spend time with the family. I have another daughter who has 3 kids. It's been really tough on her because they were best friends and wanted to raise their children together. And it's been rough, and I think too, when you grieve, like I'm not the only one grieving. My husband's grieving. My other daughter's grieving. Yeah. And so you have to be a team and allow each other to have their time,
their moment, their emotion, their distress, their sadness, I need space. I need to step away. I can't do this right now. It's the 3rd time today, and I'm done.
And I think that's one of the hardest.
It is for sure. You guys are amazing. You're one of the few families who pulls together. It's pretty hard to do just with dementia in general. Mm-hmm. You've had so much practice at loss in some ways, I guess, but still, wow. I
think too, with dementia, or especially at such a young age, and due to this type with the behavioral variant, she's not herself and hasn't been really for the last several years. Right. And she, one of the things is, as a family, comes around, a lot of times your friends, people, they don't know how to react.
They aren't sure what to do because it's like a large body with a personality and a behavior set that's more consistent with a very small child. And yet you have a full-size person. And it's hard for many people to place your background in developmental disabilities. I mean, you've been on this road for a long time, apparently.
Yes.
You just didn't know you were on this road.
Right.
And wow. I mean, that's huge because you learned early in your life that developmental disabilities are what they are. I mean, people are who they can be. And you had this amazing, beautiful young woman in your life. And yet you have who you have now. And you can either accept that you have this beautiful being in your care, and that if you care for this human being, you will have moments of joy and moments of sadness, and you will learn and you will grow and you will celebrate and you will cry and you will do all the things that you would do anyway. I mean, it's just
exactly. It's still going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part as a mother grieving a child with something like this versus your elderly parents is that she never got to live her life. And I grieve and I get emotional. I think about it more of what she's lost due to the fact that, she didn't get to enjoy her child.
She did not get to have the baby that she had the baby, but she didn't ever get to really have that baby.
Right. And bond.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, she was married and she lost that. She was a nurse. She lost that. Everything, her friends, they come around periodically, but it's hard to see when things come up, you're like, oh, she doesn't get to experience this.
Yeah.
And also knowing that she's already progressing the way she is, we don't know where she'll be in a year.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I don't know if this is how you've learned, but usually the younger they are, the faster they progress.
It is a very common pattern, particularly when you're describing the changes in her ability to manage and handle both liquids, but also solids, because her risk of dehydration goes up as she's not able to get the liquids in, and then being able to manage the solids. She's less actually interested in eating in many ways than she used to be. Although, she'll do this thing, but she's not really interested in eating. It's just a sensory experience she's interested in, which means the food she doesn't sometimes chew and swallow as well as she should. Because it's
right. And she's eating better than we thought, because at one point we thought it was, but it's more of, we know what types of food to feed her, first of all. You have to try to, just like, you're not going to give her a steak, because you're not going to take the chance of choking, aspiration, that type of thing. We try to give her things that we know that she likes, because she doesn't ask for anything. She has she cannot tell you no pain either. No. She never complains of pain. Matter of fact, she just got over a urinary tract infection. Very common at this stage, obviously. And we've had to learn ways of getting fluids in, because the liquid now, like the spitting it out, like, you can't make someone swallow.
No, you can't. There's no way to get it to happen. It just doesn't happen. So you're using more watermelon. You're using more
soup. Things that popsicles, crush them up, get something in her. You just learn to do what you need to do. And she's losing skills as, like, she's mobile. Very mobile.
Very mobile, to a point mobile. You have to be very thoughtful, because she's very mobile.
Yes, she's very mobile. She's a pacer. She flips lights on, flips lights off. She counts lights. Their numbers are still there. And I watched one of your sessions about the rhythm because she can't, if you ask her a question, she can't answer you. Now she will repeat kind of parrot-like. Like if I say, I love you, she'll say, I love you, you know, and it's kind of in that rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very rhythmic, like she's almost singing it.
Yeah. And that's the best way for her to get something out is in that pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yes, because that's what she does. And then she bounces on the balls of her feet.
Yeah, that's a lot of
yes.
Yeah. And I'm going to bet you might even possibly see something that's almost autistic-like with up at a light or.
Oh, she touches the lights. She throws stuffed animals in the air constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Is that just a sensory?
Yeah, that's a sensory thing. That's the sensory desire to engage and flipping something up and then getting it.
She does that constantly. She loves, we have all kinds of stuffed animals. And she does more the throwing in the air.
Okay.
But she does, and touching the lights or touching the ceiling if it's a low area. Yeah. Or trying to, or
but more
getting on
whole hand touching, not detailed finger touching anymore.
No, it's all whole hand.
Whole hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like walking and then turning and walking back.
Yes, and she circles the table like she has certain. You can almost tell cruising. When she heads that way what she's going to do.
Cruising, yeah. So cruising a table, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she
can she back up anymore? I'm curious about ability to back up.
I don't know. I'll have to check that.
Kinds of things.
Oh, I'm having trouble with her sitting when we go to the bathroom. Yeah. She's even stood and then started to go before sitting down.
Yeah.
So she's losing that skill.
Yeah. Sitting down is like the harder skill versus actually standing up because you're moving forward when you stand up. When you sit down, you're actually in some ways moving backward. So bending over, thinking about having her bend over and then trying to sit. Bend over, bend forward. Getting her bend forward and then trying to sit because she can then see the toilet she wants to sit on if she's bent over forward.
If she's bent over. Yeah. And so what I've tried, and see, the problem is we take her in and then we have to get her to relax because her brain's not telling her to go.
Nope. Yeah.
And she retains.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I'll get real quiet. I'll try to get her attention. I'll tell her, let's listen. I'll have her lean forward, like and she'll just kind of lean there and relax. And it's just amazing at the details you have to help her with.
Yeah.
Like I bathe her because if I put her in the shower, she'll just stand there.
Yeah.
The processing, I think it's
sequencing. There's no ability to initiate, to sequence, to terminate, to transition, to initiate, to sequence. She can't do any of that. She can just hopefully be still for you, which is a major achievement.
Yes. And that's not always the way it is.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and that's inconsistent, I'm going to bet. Wow.
Yes. And she jumps up and down. I think after the shower, she's jumping up and down. She's finally getting, and then she always goes into her bedroom, shuts the door and lays down. My sister was here the other day and she said, she's going to bed. I said, no, she's been overstimulated. We've given her a shower. She's got to decompress and she'll go in and she'll relax and then she'll come back out.
Yep.
It's just her moment of, kind of just.
It was intense. And she tolerated it. And that's where our understanding, and you're doing a great job of supporting her. She tolerates our care. She doesn't appreciate our care because her brain doesn't understand our care some of the time, a lot of the time.
Yes.
To her, it's an intense sensory experience after, and it's like she needs a break. And you're so equipped to be the person, to be her partner, because anybody else would want her to come back out. Your sister's here. No, no, she needs
time out.
She's got.
She has to have that time out. Yeah. And then like brushing her teeth. She can't do that on her own now. Like I think it's a sensory thing. I don't think she likes the toothpaste.
I'm sure she doesn't. When she's having that much trouble with pocketing and managing liquid, that brush in her mouth, anything in her mouth is going to be intense for her.
Yes, I've noticed that. And so what we usually do, my husband will both do it together because we don't want to get infection. And I liked your point about the fact that mouth, you've got to really watch. I had never really stopped to think about that, about the amount of blood vessels. And
it's right there,
Yes. And if it was after her, she'd never brush her teeth.
No, she would not.
She doesn't understand.
She absolutely would not.
Yeah. So we go in and I got a soft one. I got the baby Burt's Bee toothpaste that wasn't hot,
Yep, you got it.
I just try these little things and then we calm her down. We talk about it and try to let her start in the back. She doesn't really like
the front is really hard. The front is really hard. Really hard.
Very hard.
It's so hypersensitive, super hard. And the most important parts to get, you're absolutely right, are back here. This is where the saliva comes out. That's where your parotid glands are, so it's actually getting cleaned more often than the side.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes. Yeah, so worry less here, worry more out there. That's great. And she has less sensitivity out there, so that's good.
That's good, yeah, because it's hard. I mean, and when I look back just a couple years ago, actually, I found a card that she wrote to me. Would have had to have been sometime early 2018, thanking me for all I've done for her and baby Carson and how blessed she was. It was a Mother's Day experience because I found it on Saturday and, she didn't even know it's Mother's Day. She doesn't have that.
No.
And her dad had to have her come in and say Happy Mother's Day. And she finally got it out after repeating after her father because she doesn't respond. Initiate. She never initiates.
No, she can't initiate. She can't get started, but she can participate. So not being able to initiate, but she can participate. So if that's what we expect, she can participate. That's huge. That's a good thing.
And we say I love you multiple times a day because I dread the day she won't be able to say it. And I'm like, we're going to just
keep saying it.
We're going to say it. And I'll say it. She says it. And sometimes it may take her a little longer. Sometimes she may get the I, she's starting, I notice that she's struggling to get the whole thing.
Echo.
Yes.
Echo.
Yes. So all this is very just textbook, isn't it?
It is so much. And yet what you've done is you've opened the door for us to say at 28, at actually 27, it was sort of creeping in. And she had no history. There's not a family history of this at all. So it was a spontaneous mutation. It's a spontaneous kind of phenomena. Which is really.
And when I look back, hindsight is always 2020. And when I look back, probably things that we blamed it on situational circumstances were probably just because I would think that's not really how I would think Kara would respond. But I'm thinking, she's going through a lot,
exactly.
We all don't respond when we're going through stress and loss. I mean, my sister was her best friend. That devastated Kara. And
they really, quite honestly, we don't know exactly how FTD gets triggered, this spontaneous version, and so it could have kicked in a little bit, but then each of those traumatic events triggered more and more production of tau pathologies. We know it's tau pathologies, but we don't know what gets it in gear so high. And with her, the gear is right off the charts. Wow.
Yes.
And
she's
looking
31 now. She's 31. She's soon to be 32. Like I say, her son's going to be 4. But her doctor, like he said, the last year she's declined more in the last year than she did the year prior. And the things that bother me are seeing the UTIs start, and those type of things. And we just, I try not to borrow trouble from tomorrow because I don't know
You don't.
how much.
None of us do. That's somebody's hands beside mine. I'm not in charge of that. You're doing the things you can do to give her the time you will have. I mean, the high probability mobility will change. I mean, you're seeing it already. Her turns aren't as clean. She's doing multi-step turns. She can't get into a seat very easily. Rolling over is not as smooth as it was. It's sitting up and trying to figure out how to get her legs off, kind of things. And you know it, but keep going. And you sound like the kind of person who's going to go with it. And when it's done, you'll celebrate the time you had. You'll know that it's time. And you will know that you did what you were meant to do, and she did all she could do.
I do believe that having conversations with you, and actually this summer I'm going to be doing a webinar with the American Psychological Association.
Yay.
I've been asked to give her story because she got hooked in that mental health field where they needed more education on. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is where we are. And so I think getting the awareness out there, it helps me to feel as if, I'm doing the best I can with my daughter. I'm enjoying her, or enjoying my family. Is it an everyday, 24 hours a day job? Is it exhausting? Yes, it is exhausting. But it's nothing that
it's hard sometimes. Yes, it is hard sometimes, but is it worth it?
Yes. Yes. And I always look at things as, which side of the coin would you want to be on? It's not easy being her either.
No. Not at all.
It isn't, and she's not doing anything to make us be burdened. Matter of fact, Kara, the type of person she was, she would be devastated, but she has agnosia. She fortunately doesn't understand.
Doesn't get that. And it's a gift. I mean, that for her and for you, it's a gift for her not to be depressed about her condition.
Yes.
I mean, that would be devastating. On top of that, that would be an added burden in the world for her to grieve the loss of herself. She just is where she is right now. And yes, there are moments when she does have that momentary piece of something's not right. You get that, she gets that, but she's pretty sad. You're doing a pretty good job. She's pretty satisfied with things, even if they are not brownie bites, it's watermelon, but could be worse.
Yeah. And she loves apples, so we're good there, and bananas. And, I've learned that she likes, I'll make some, banana, strawberry, yogurt smoothies to get some,
and that's thicker and colder, and that texture, all of that encourages the swallow that the thin liquid just doesn't get anymore.
And she will drink hot tea easier than she will drink just regular water.
All right. Good job.
Yeah. And see, I am very fortunate to have a friend, because of being in the field, but a lady went to my church. She's a retired speech pathologist.
Yay.
So she came out to kind of check with Kara. It's, you use your resources. It's very important. And I'm like, I don't really understand this hyperorality and these type of things, but yes, I know who does. And she was so sweet to come out, and she's seen Kara's verbalization and those things decline, especially over the last year. And so she given me some ideas, and I never stopped to think about the different types of foods and the hot and the cold and how that does make a difference. And so I tried to do that. I'm just really, Kara is just a blessing to us. And of course she loves her comfort zone. Me and her dad and I and our home, because we can't take her out. One thing that happened recently was she tried to open the door going down the highway. Yeah. to go to the
Yeah,
doctor.
that's a scary, 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 scary moment because, oh my God, yeah.
Yes, she's totally oblivious to the fact that that was
The car's
not a good
moving
idea.
really fast. That's not a safe thing to do. Yeah.
Yes, but
Just
we
occurred to
put her
me.
in the middle and with the car seat on this side and you on the other from now on. So, yeah.
And you use those child-proof locks on the back seat, and when you have somebody you can ride with, and if not,
yes, you're better off. Yeah, we don't just one person take her because you can't. Well, you know, she's 31. She's strong. She's taller than I am.
Yep.
She's fast.
When she decides something, she decides something. I mean, and it doesn't make sense. So you can't use language. You can't reason. You can't use bribes because she's not into being bribed. I mean, you can't even use the stuff as bribes because she doesn't really bribe anymore.
No, I learned that from I watched Being Patient Alzheimer's. I did a live interview with Deborah Kahn and also Dr. Brad Dickerson from Boston, Mass. And he was amazing. And then I watched a few things and I realized that the frontal cortex where like there's no more of this consequence, bribery. You're gone. That's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. I mean, all our old things that we did is like none of that works.
No.
Like,
I can bribe my
you do this, then you don't get this. And it's like, okay, whatever. And
you
then she'll
bribe my
still try to go
3-year-old.
open the cabinet and she's pretty strong. So that lock, you better get a good one because she'll take the hinges off by accident just because she keeps pulling.
Yes. Oh, and she's strong and you can't hide things. I mean, you know, she's 5'6" and you can't, you know, a toddler, you can put it up on the refrigerator. Well, I don't work when you're 5'6".
Yeah.
You know,
I know. Yeah. It's like, it's really remarkable. And we don't want to get in fights. Why would you want to get into a fight with somebody or cause her distress over, because you're the only source and, you know, you start establishing that relationship and that gets really messy really fast.
Yes. And she's very, we're fortunate that, you know, some of them get angry and aggressive.
She's sort of flat in many ways and she's pleasant.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, she's flat. She used to, like, if I'd say smile or I try to take her picture, she'd just overly smile.
Yeah.
But she's starting to, everyone's like, she has the sweetest smile. Well, it was just bigger than life, but she's starting to lose that as well. Yeah. She's getting a little more blunted. Very much so.
The details of facial expression are getting harder and harder for her to make.
Yes.
Because it's all fine quality muscles and her brain is just not sending messages as effectively.
Yeah. And that's happened just here recently. I've noticed that because we tried to get a picture of her and her son. He had bought her some things for Mother's Day and put him up on her lap. And she's just looks like she's really not even paying attention.
Right.
Her mouth open a lot more too, just with that, you know, kind of not shutting her mouth, you know. Yeah,
and
like that.
And often eyes seeming to drift, not really finding contact with things or people.
Yes. And she will have her tablet. She'll have a tablet and sometimes she will watch music videos, but we'll look over and it's not even on. Yeah. She's got her earbuds in and it on her lap and she's looking out at other things and it's not even on. And then or she'll walk off and leave it on. Yeah. Where she never used to do that. Even a couple months ago, she would turn it off and set it.
So you're really, her OCD is almost gone in many ways. That aspect of it, that sort of hyper attentiveness to those sort of rituals.
Yes.
Now it's more episodically. She'll do lights, but she might skip some, you know.
Yes, she does. Some days she may not really pay attention to them.
So the rituals are less integrated and they're more episodic, less consistent. So you know things are winding out and winding down. But I'm thinking you're going to do this until it's time to not do this anymore.
Yes, we plan to keep her at home. Early on, when our house didn't really have a handicap bathroom, that was something we were like, okay, we're going to get this done. I want to be proactive. You can't be doing that when you got to get your environment prepared.
Yeah.
Luckily I was aware of that with my background,
Yep.
you know,
Good
and
thing.
it was, and our community has just been amazing. We live in a small community. They've known all my family. Kara worked, in the hospital, and they put together a fundraiser, and they actually took care of the bathroom expenses, which was really, it's just such a blessing.
Towns, yay for people who care, yay for coming together, and yay for paying it forward.
Exactly. And we have been so blessed, and we prepare by saying, okay, we know this is going to get tougher. Because of the losses I've experienced, even with my sister as she was dying of cancer, I said, I'm not going to work. I mean, I can work later. We're trying to prepare. It's been financially tough, but when I can work more now, PRN, I will. And then eventually things may change. We are getting some respite care that's going to start coming in a little bit.
I mean, that's the other reality is young people who need support. I mean, you have to go disability. She didn't work very long. She didn't build up much. So then getting on Medicare, Medicaid, all those resources, trying to Social Security, supplemental. I mean, it's mind blowing. So I'm betting that you guys divided up responsibilities and everybody took a chunk of what they thought they could help with, and you made it through this. But man, it is for a young person.
Yes.
No
well,
way.
Luckily, because she had started working, she was very responsible and started working when she was 16. So she got SSDI. Luckily, she had paid into it enough. But you're right. I've had to learn at my age, her getting her on Medicare, trying to get into the Medicaid, trying to find out what resources, but there's really not. And that's the unfortunate thing.
Not for somebody who is her age, 55 and up. Yeah.
Yes.
At 30, 31, 32, no way. None of this stuff is set up for a young person who doesn't have a developmental disability, and she didn't.
No. And so it has been difficult because we went through savings to get her diagnosed, and because we went all over the place, because I knew as a mom, this is not a normal postpartum situation. It's just been a real, a challenge. And my husband and I are an amazing team. I don't know what I'd do without him. And he's learned, he said, I would have never seen myself in this role, but he's taken it serious. He loves his baby girl. And so when you love your family, they come first. And we've tried to make it as comfortable for her, especially. And we will take care of her until
we'll figure it out. I mean, you're going to figure it out. I mean, and God will provide, and you will figure it out, and it will all be as it's meant to be. It's just, it doesn't feel great, but it is good. And you get that. But wow. What I would say is what you've done with this conversation is you have opened the door to so many people who had no idea that somebody that young could possibly have dementia.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread Teepa's positive approach message around the world. And don't forget to click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted.